So we're going to start using Elementor now, and believe me, once you get used to the settings and how it works, you're never going to want to use another page builder. Or you might, but I think you're going to really like it. Now what we'll do is we'll go to Pages and All Pages, and underneath Home we have lots of options. Now the Edit with Elementor option is enabled because if you remember when we created Home, we clicked Edit with Elementor, so it's now ready for us to start messing around with. So let's just go into it, Edit with Elementor. And we can see a blank space because there's nothing there at the moment. And we have our header at the top and our footer at the bottom. Now on the left hand side we have lots and lots of options. Heading, images, buttons, Google Maps, videos, and further options below, which are enabled when you have the Elementor Pro license. Form, gallery, price list, flip boxes, call to actions. You will at some point use one of these within a design. You don't have to use all of them. Just because it's there, don't just go throwing it onto your page. That's not advised. But there are lots and lots of options on here that you are going to find really, really useful. A bit like the share buttons one there. That's where you might want to enable your viewer to click a button and it shares it onto Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something like that. And we have some further options, Facebook page. And there will be some general ones that come with WordPress anyway that are integrated into Elementor. And a few more as well. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Now, we're just going to show you how easy it is to use Elementor. Okay, but before we do that, there are some settings we need to do. So, at the very top, we have the word Elements and we have Global. We also have a hamburger to the left-hand side of the word Elementor. Now, when you left-click that, that's now going to allow us to set some settings for the whole of the site. And we're going to go to Settings, and we're going to go to set either the global colors or the global font. Now, I'm just going to go to Fonts for now. This is the point where you can start to decide what is the main font you're going to be using within your website for your headers or your text or any areas like that. There's a range of fonts available here, and it's not a bad thing to pick one. So I've picked Quicksand, and that will then mean that every time I use a primary global font, it's always going to be Quicksand. That's great if that's what I want. I have to be honest, I don't always do this because I like to be on the change my fonts on the fly, and I like to decide what I'm going to do depending on the content on the page. Of course, try to be consistent. Don't just have 20 different fonts on your page. But I'm not really going to pick one at the moment, but I just want to show you, look, when you pick it, it will very quickly show you what's happening on your screen because it has the header and the footer font. But look, it's entirely up to you, okay? I'm not going to force you to do this, but it can save you a bit of time. You could pick a particular font, change your mind later on, and when you change it here, it will change it for your entire site. That can be quite a brilliant time saver in terms of efficiency. Right, let's just go back and let's go to global colors instead. Now this is one I definitely recommend you do use, okay? So at the minute my primary color is a turquoisey blue color. If I click that, I can now pick a color, and whatever color I pick, that is what my primary color will be. The beauty about that, again, is that if you change it later on, you might have built 10 pages, and when you change it later on, it will now change it across the entire site. We're just going to leave it for blue for now, and I'm just going to change some of the other text options we have here. So if we go to the accent color, I can pick any color I want. I could either be very specific about a color and type in the hex code because I have found it by using a color picker, or I could just pick some colors that I tend to use. So I always go for certain grey colors because I use them quite a lot and they're my preferred color palette. And I might just pick some more colors here. Now for the primary color, we might as well change that blue while we're here. And what I'm going to do is quickly jump back into Canva. I'm going to have a look at my logo, if you recall, the one that we created. So let me just quickly log back into my account. This is again one of those things where, you know, Elementor, it's web-based, so you can quickly jump between programs and applications. So I've gone back to my logo. I'm looking at that orange color I've got there. I've now got the hex code by clicking on it, as you can see there. I'm now going to go back into Elementor, primary color, paste that hex code, and boom, I've now got my color coordinated scheme in place. And that's the palette I'm going to start with for this website. Excellent. Right, so if we now go back to settings and typography, we can also now set a color scheme for whenever we have a hyperlink to an internal or an external link or anything like that. And again, here we can define what our color scheme is. You might often find that you don't want to do this one just yet. Once you've got some hyperlinks in and you suddenly see what color they're appearing as, that's when you might want to go in and modify them. Okay, now then, on back to looking at the normal settings on all the elements on the left hand side, we have nothing placed in the middle of our screen. So if I click the plus sign, if you remember, I can now pick a section that has various columns. It doesn't matter if you pick a section with just 3, 4 or 5, you can delete and add columns as you go along. But if you know you want to start off with 5 because you want to have 5 different areas, or you're going to use 5 areas in the section, go ahead and pick it. And don't forget, we have the grey folder as well. And the great thing about this, when we go to blocks, there are tons and tons of things that are already predefined. I only showed you the header and footers before, but look, we're now looking at the features area, and I may decide to pick one of these. Or I could go to pages, and we have a predefined page. I mean, here are some pretty good looking pages here. And then there are some, well, I have to be honest, they're not that amazing, but they are a good starting point because you're going to replace them with your own text and your own pictures. So I'm just previewing one of these pre-built pages here. It could be one that you could use for photography or advertising products. Of course, you're not going to have pets like cats and dogs everywhere, unless that's your business. But you could now replace the images once it's inserted. Anyway, I've hit X on that. What you can also pick is your templates. Now, there's no point as picking a header and a footer template because we've already used them for the header and the footer. But as part of this course, we have now given you some page templates. And what you could do is click the import button, import that template and insert it, and it will give you basically what we're going to be building over the course. So it's our way of helping you out and giving you a bit of a starting point. There's loads of free templates out there, by the way. Okay, we've just gone into page settings and I've just clicked hide title. This isn't massively important because we're not seeing any title on the page at the moment anyway. But if the title of the page does appear and you don't want it to appear the way it is appearing, just click hide title there and it will be removed. You can also decide what the status of your page is, draft or published. I tend to always put published on. Now I'm going to go to style and I'm going to set the background color to be dark. I will be changing this later on, by the way, but I just want to show you how easy it is to do. So if you decide you don't want the backing of your page to be red or blue or green or white, you can very quickly pick either a color on the fly, or you could pick a color from one of your global palettes. And the reason why using your global palette can be quite a good idea is that if you change that color later on, it then means that it will change it forever throughout the entire site. But I'm just showing you how easy it is to move around. And I am using a live website that's connected to the internet. You know, this isn't a program installed on your machine. And you can see there's no lag or anything like that. Now in the bottom left corner, and you probably can't see this on the screen, but there is an option to see the history. And it gives you a huge amount of information here. And what you can do is you can just basically undo and redo things. You also have a button to see the responsive mode of your website. And this allows me to view the website in a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile form. Bear in mind though that when you're in the mobile form, you want to type 375 because that's the minimum pixel width for an iPhone X. And that kind of covers you in terms of what will your website look like. Don't just assume that it looks great in desktop, that it's going to look great in the mobile. You need to make sure you cover both bases. Right, so now I'm back to just looking at our website, and we can see there that we've got our header and footer in an orange font, and the background is that dark charcoaly black colour at the moment. And so far it's looking pretty good as a starting point.